The grass is green, the sky is blue. There's nothing my kicking and screaming is going to do about that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Starve the Demon, Recovery by Any Means Necessary. I'm your host, Jenna, and tonight we're talking about Step 7 in Narcotics Anonymous, the basic text, and it works how and why, and the spiritual principle of humility. Okay, we are starting on page 35 in the basic text, the last little paragraph right here. We humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Character defects or shortcomings are those things that cause pain and misery all of our lives. If they contributed to our health and happiness, we would not have come to such a state of desperation. We had to become ready to have God, as we understood him, remove those defects. Now, we've been talking about character defects for a while now. Step 4, step 5, step 6. Now we are in step 7. And we're going to ask God to take away the character defects that we figured out we had through work in step 4. We admitted them in step 5, and we really put a name to them. Step 6, we became ready to have God remove these defects of character. And now in step 7, we're going to ask him humbly to do so. This is short, though. In the basic text, it's short. Having decided that we want God to relieve us of the useless or destructive aspects of our personalities, we have arrived at the 7th step. We couldn't handle the ordeal of life all by ourselves. It wasn't until we made a real mess of our lives that we realized we couldn't do it alone. By admitting this, we achieved a glimpse of humility. This is the main ingredient of step 7. Humility is a result of getting honest with ourselves. We have practiced being honest since step 1. We accepted our addiction and powerlessness. We found a strength beyond ourselves and learned to rely on it. We examined our lives and discovered who we really are. To be truly humble is to accept and honestly try to be ourselves. None of us is perfectly good or perfectly bad. We are people who have assets and liabilities. Most importantly, we are human and fall short of the glory of God every day, me probably several times a day. Humility is as much a part of staying clean as food and water are to staying alive. As our addiction progressed, we devoted our energy towards satisfying our material desires. All other needs were beyond our reach. We always wanted gratification of our basic desires. Instant gratification. Don't let me wait for nothing. I don't have any patience. If I can't get it right now, I'm going to pretend I don't even want it. Instant gratification is addict thinking. The 7th step is an action step, and it is time to ask God for help and relief. We have to understand that our way of thinking is not the only way. Other people can give us direction. When someone points out our shortcoming, our first reaction may be defensive. We must realize that we are not perfect. There will always be room for growth. If we truly want to be free, we will take a good look at input from fellow addicts. If the shortcomings we discover are real and we have a chance to be rid of them, we will surely experience a sense of well-being. Some will want to get on their knees for this step. Some will be very quiet, and others will put forth a great emotional effort to show intense willingness. The word humble applies because we approach this power greater than ourselves to ask for freedom to live without the limitations of our past ways. Many of us are willing to work this step without reservations on pure blind faith because we are sick of what we have been doing and how we are feeling. Whatever works, we go all the way. This is our road to spiritual growth. We change every day. We gradually and carefully pull ourselves out of the isolation and loneliness of addiction and into the mainstream of life. This growth is not the result of wishing, but of action and prayer. The main objective of step 7 is to get out of ourselves and strive to achieve the will of our higher power. If we are careless and fail to grasp the spiritual meaning of this step, we may have difficulties and stir up old troubles. One danger is in being too hard on ourselves. Sharing with other recovering addicts will help us to avoid becoming morbidly serious about ourselves. Accepting the defects of others can help us become humble and pave the way for our own defects to be relieved. God often works through those who care enough about recovery to help make us aware of our shortcomings. We have noticed that humility plays a big part in this program and our new way of life. We take our inventory, we become ready to let God remove our defects of character, we humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. This is our road to spiritual growth, and we will want to continue. We are ready for step 8. When we're thinking about defects and shortcomings, it says right here in the beginning paragraph, these are things that have been damaging to our lives. If they were adding benefit to our life, they wouldn't be shortcomings. They wouldn't be defects, right? They're defects because they're detrimental to our happiness. They're detrimental to our joy. They're detrimental to our freedom. So that's why we want to be rid of them. And these are the things like selfishness, self-seeking, self-centered. And I like how it says in here that we don't want to be morbidly hard on ourselves. There's nothing more annoying when you have done something wrong. You have messed up, whatever that looks like. And someone is upset with you, and instead of allowing them to be upset or feel their feelings or come to you and talk to you about it and say, listen, this is how this thing that you did made me feel, you take the lead on, I'm so horrible. I'm a horrible person. I'm just a piece of crap. There's no hope for me. La, 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 la. First of all, that just screams, look at me, look at me, look at me. And what that really does is take away your need to be accountable because you feel so horrible about it already. There's just no sense in anybody saying anything to you about it because you already feel so bad. That's crap. That's manipulative and it's crap. Humility is about getting honest with yourself. It's about being right sized. You are neither the biggest piece of crap on the planet, nor are you the greatest thing walking. That would be ridiculous. Humility doesn't mean being humiliated. It means being humble. It means seeing yourself honestly for who you really are. You're probably great at some stuff and you probably suck at other stuff. That's what being human is. It's okay. You need to be able to recognize it. I'm not 6 foot. Nothing in life is going to make me be 6 foot. So I humbly accept the fact that I'm 5 foot 2. I'm a tiny little woman. I can't do things that a 6 foot tall man can do. I can't do stuff my husband can do. It's just not going to happen. I can kick and scream about that. Or I can say, okay, this is the reality of the situation. The grass is green. The sky is blue. There's nothing my kicking and screaming is going to do about that. I can't change the color of the sky. All right. So in It Works How and Why, step 7, page 69. And I have some notes here. This is a workbook. This is a workbook. This happened because I left it laying on the coffee table when Dio here was a puppy and he got hold of it and chewed it up. You know why? Because it wasn't up on the shelf collecting dust. So here's what my notes say. Humility, to be right-sized, gratitude, we-ness. Like when I hit my 7 years, I said, we have 7 years. Who's we? All of us, everybody that's ever helped me in my sobriety. That's we. I didn't get sober alone. I don't stay sober alone. We recover together or not at all. Grounded in reality, humiliation, shamed, worthless, or degraded. Humility is being right-sized and knowing who you are. Thinking of yourself less instead of thinking less of yourself. Again, we start with, we humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Him, capital H, that's your higher power. Mine is Jesus. So it's easy for me because I have a whole nother handbook that tells me exactly who my higher power is and what he's capable of. In step 4, we uncovered the basic defects of our character. In step 5, we admitted their existence. In step 6, we became entirely ready to have them removed so that we could experience continued spiritual growth and recovery. Now, in step 7, we humbly ask our higher power to remove our shortcomings. When we ask our higher power to remove these shortcomings, we ask for freedom from anything which limits our recovery. We ask for help because we cannot do it alone. Through working the previous steps, we see that attaining humility is necessary if we're going to live a clean life and walk a spiritual path. An attitude of humility is not the same as humiliation, nor is it a denial of our good qualities. On the contrary, An attitude of humility means that we have a realistic view of ourselves and our place in the world. In the seventh step, humility means understanding our role in our own recovery, appreciating our strengths and limitations, and having faith in a power greater than ourselves. To work the seventh step, we must get out of the way so that God can do God's work. Humbly asking for the removal of our shortcomings means we are giving complete license to that loving power to work in our lives, believing that God's wisdom far exceeds our own. There's a very good point in there, too. When I'm feeling upset, when I'm feeling squirrely, I'm mad about something, sad about something, I don't ask God to remove that thing. I ask God to remove my feeling about that thing. God, please release me from my anger. Please release me from my fear. Release me from my jealousy. Release me from my selfishness. Because it's not the thing that's the problem. It's how I respond and react to the thing that's the problem. Even though we now possess some measure of humility, many of us may be somewhat confused by the word humbly. We may have taken it for granted that God would remove our shortcomings immediately upon request. Those of us with this attitude may have been surprised when our higher power didn't comply with our request, because God is not a genie. On the other hand, some of us tried pleading with God to remove our shortcomings, guessing that would be a demonstration of humility. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm going to say that I want the thing, but I'm not going to actually do anything about getting the thing. I just want everybody to know that I said this and get credit for having said it. That's not going to work ever. We tried so hard to get it right. We were tired of our shortcomings. We were worn out from trying to manage and control them, and we wanted some relief. Oddly enough, this is precisely the attitude we hope to demonstrate in step 7, the attitude of humility. We admit defeat, recognize our limitations, and ask for help from the God of our understanding. Everything in God's time is hard to swallow. Patience, that's why they say patience is a virtue. God is never late. It's not in our time, it's in God's time, whatever it is. We don't get to pick because we're not really in control of anything. That's what we learn in step 3. You should ask God for what you want. Don't say, hey, God, I need a Corvette. Say, God, I need transportation. I need a way to get from point A to point B. Please help me figure that out. You ask for a cake, God's going to give you flour and eggs and sugar and milk. Asking our higher power to remove our shortcomings requires a surrender of a more pronounced nature than our initial surrender. That surrender, born of sheer despair over our powerlessness and inability to manage our lives, moves into an entirely new realm in the 7th step. In this new level of surrender, we accept not only our addiction, but also the shortcomings related to our addiction. Accepting our addiction was the first move in the direction of accepting ourselves. We know something about ourselves because of our work in the previous steps, and our illusions of uniqueness have been overcome in the process. We know that we are neither more nor less important than anyone else. Understanding that we are not unique is a good indication of humility. That terminal uniqueness. I'm special. Nobody's going to understand. Nobody's able to help me because I'm so far gone. And what we learn in the program and in the community that we find in the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, and what we learn through work in our steps, is that, you know what? We're not uniquely special. And other people do understand. Other people have gone through exactly what it is that we have gone through or we are going through, and can help us to navigate that because they themselves have gone through it and come out on the other side of it. And there really isn't anything in the human experience that is unique to any one human. If you've gone through it, so have a million other people. If you're going through it right now, so have a million other people. Patience is an essential ingredient of working the step. We may have difficulty with the notion of patience because our addiction accustomed us to instant gratification. But we've already been practicing the principles that make it possible for us to be patient. We simply need to expand on our third step decision to trust the God of our understanding with our will and our lives. Remember, our will is how we think, our lives is how we act. If we only trusted the power to a certain extent in step 3, it's time to increase our trust. Because our view of what we can hope for may be limited, many of us can't even begin to imagine what our higher power has in store for us. If this is the case for us, we must rely on faith. As in the previous steps, we simply have to believe that God's will for us is good. Our faith gives us reason to hope for the best. I have a note here. It says, do God's work, not his job. God does for you, not to you. It's for you, not to you. Life, the universe, everything is like a great big puzzle. God can see the whole puzzle. And that's far too much for me and my tiny little human mind to comprehend. I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with not knowing the answers and not always getting what I want when I want it. Because our view of what we can hope for may be limited. Let me tell you something. I thought that I would end up dead in a trailer somewhere. I had zero expectations of anything good happening in my life. My husband used to ask me, what do you want to do 5 years from now? I can't even wrap my mind around something like that. I love my life. I love waking up in the morning and going through my day, no matter what my day holds. I may not be happy, but I'm always joyful. I can find joy no matter what. And that's because of my connection with my higher power. I wasn't happy when I found out my dog had to have another surgery, but I was joyful in the knowledge that he and I were going to be okay no matter how it turned out. In working this step, we move away from intellectualizing the recovery process. Our concern is not to determine exactly how or when our shortcomings will be removed. It's not our job to analyze this step. This step is a spiritual choice, a choice that goes beyond any emotional reaction or conscious active will. To choose to bypass it would leave us with only a heightened awareness of our character defects and no hope for relief from those shortcomings. The resulting pain might well be unbearable. We've seen our character defects, our faulty belief systems, and our unhealthy patterns of behavior. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. We've seen that we need to change, but may not be aware that we've been changing since we first came to Narcotics Anonymous. We walked into our first meeting with a spiritual void, God-sized hole. Some essential ray of spiritual light had been cut off. We had lost the ability to love, to laugh, and to feel. For so long, people had looked into our eyes and had trouble seeing the human being behind the blank gaze. From our very first meeting, we sensed the love and acceptance of other NA members. We began to come back to life. What we are experiencing is an awakening of the spirit, no less dramatic than it sounds. The awakening has been evident to those around us for quite some time, but the change is now so obvious that we can see it as well. One of the changes we see is our relationship with the God of our understanding. Previously, we may have felt that God was far removed and did not have much to do with us on a personal level. We may have had trouble grasping the fact that each one of us could have a God of our understanding always available to us. Prayer may have felt artificial for quite a while, but we may now sense that we are being listened to and loved when we pray. Developing a relationship with the God of our understanding goes a long way toward increasing our level of comfort when we ask to have our shortcomings removed. The work we've done in the previous steps has enriched that relationship. We've asked our higher power for honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, and we have been provided the ability to develop those attributes that are so vital to our recovery. When it says developing that relationship with God, don't just wait until something tragic happens. We're not doing foxhole prayers anymore, right? That's the old us. We don't live like that anymore, where we only talk to God when we need something. Oh, God, if you get me out of this, I'll never blah, trying to make deals with God and make bargains. That's not how God works. It's not how my God works. Each time we come up short on any of the qualities we are trying to attain, or when we have difficulty practicing spiritual principles, we turn to the God of our understanding. In this step, we ask a loving God to remove our impatience, our intolerance, our dishonesty, or whatever shortcoming is currently in the way. We find that our higher power always provides us with what we need, and our faith grows as a result. When we ask our higher power to remove our shortcomings, we may see little bits of some of them removed. Other defects may simply be shoved out of the way for a time so that we can move forward on the path of recovery. We may even attain complete freedom from having to act on those defects. The point is that we have come to believe that only the God of our understanding has the power to remove our shortcomings. We can actually ask our higher power to remove our shortcomings in good faith, knowing that it will happen in God's time. This faith can transcend our own ideas of what we think or need or think we should have. Regardless of how secure we feel in our relationship with the God of our understanding, we need our sponsor to guide us through the seventh step. Our sponsor helps us with our understanding of humility and in finding a comfortable way of communicating with our higher power. We need to remember that we are praying to a power greater than ourselves. We ask humbly, knowing that we are powerless. Some of us will recite a formal prayer that demonstrates humility when we ask our higher power to help us. Some of us will pray in a more casual manner, just as humbly, but using our own words. Any communication with our higher power is prayer. However, we choose to communicate with the God of our understanding, we feel a certain comfort come over us as we pray. We know that we are being cared for. With this knowledge comes freedom. Though not a cure by any means, working the seventh step gives us the freedom to choose. We know that if we live by the spiritual principles of recovery, we no longer need to wear ourselves out trying to arrange situations and outcomes. We trust the God of our understanding with our lives. We may still be fearful from time to time, but we no longer have to react to fear in destructive ways. We have the freedom to choose to act constructively or, when appropriate, do nothing at all. Believing that we are being cared for is a result of developing a relationship with a power greater than ourselves. We are in the process of developing a conscious contact with a higher power. We will strive to improve that contact throughout our lives. We are conscious of the God of our understanding and feel that power's presence. Cliff says, I always struggled with asking for help, so I found God and now he is my best friend. That is awesome. Yeah, y'all, Cliff is not a 12-stepper, but he has a awesome relationship with his higher power. The point of the steps is to come to that spiritual awakening, having that spiritual experience. Your sponsor's job is to take you through the book and the steps and put your hand in the hand of God's. Checking boxes and going through the motions doesn't work. The process of the seventh step brings about a peace of mind that we never dreamed possible. We sense that what is present throughout our search for spiritual growth is our ability to feel our higher power's love for us. We glimpse a vision of complete freedom from our shortcomings. It doesn't matter that we will not attain a state of perfection or complete humility in our lifetime. The ability to contemplate this grand vision and meditate upon it are rare and priceless gifts in their own right. We are being changed. We've not only heard about the miracle of recovery, we are becoming living, breathing examples of what the power of the NA program can do. The spiritual life has ceased to be a theory we hear about in meetings. It is now becoming a tangible reality. We can see a miracle simply by looking in the mirror. The God of our understanding has taken us from spiritually unconscious, hopeless addicts to spiritually aware, recovering addicts eager to live. Although we've reached this point, the damage caused by our shortcomings need to be addressed. Desiring continued recovery and freedom, we go on to step 8 and begin to make amends for the damage we have caused. Coming up on step 8, it is going to be another list. In step 4, we listed all of our trauma and drama and chaos and all the things that had been done to us, and the resentments and the fears and the things that we were carrying because of that. Step 8 is all about the damage that we have caused, the havoc we have wreaked in the world, and get ready to make amends for that. So step 8 is kind of deep, kind of long. It's a lot of work involved in it. Don't worry, don't be scared, because there's freedom on the other side of it. The main things in step 5, you found out what your shortcomings were. In step 6, you became ready to say, you know what, these things are not serving me and I need to be rid of them. And I cannot just under my own power be rid of them. In step 7, we're humbly asking God, please remove these defects of character, remove my shortcomings, remove whatever it is that is blocking me from you and from moving forward in my recovery. Please release me from the things that are no longer serving me. It's that simple. I do want to give you guys some journal prompts. Answer them for yourself. What shortcomings am I still secretly protecting? What is it about yourself that you recognize is not serving you and is blocking you in your recovery and blocking you from better conscious contact with your higher power, but you're still kind of hanging on to it? Which character defects once helped me survive, but now hurt my recovery? Like, I'll give you an example. I, over time, developed a pretty hard shell, very defensive, keep everybody at arm's reach. And of course, the underlying thing there is fear, because I was scared. But I came across as very aggressive, very angry, very don't come near me. Well, that helped me survive. But in my recovery, what would that do for me? People wouldn't approach me. I wouldn't be able to talk to you guys. I wouldn't have any friends. Nobody would want to be around me. I had to be willing to let that go, to soften up. Where does ego still control my reactions? What does humility actually mean to me today? Am I willing to change, or do I just wish things were different? What would my relationship look like if I practiced more humility? If you weren't so egotistical or selfish or so I'm the worst or so I'm the greatest, what would that do to your relationship with your significant other? What defect causes me the most pain today? Do I ask for help when I need it? Or do I isolate and pretend I'm fine? When you're asking God to remove your shortcomings, don't forget what your shortcomings are and be realistic and humble about what they are. It does you no good to convince yourself that you are horrible and beyond help, because then you won't take the help that's there. It does you no good to think that you're so great and that you don't need any help, because then you're not going to get the help that you need. If you don't have a problem, you don't need a solution. Love everybody. Let God sort them out. And keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming back. Okay? Bye.